Hi everyone, welcome back to Casual Watch Talk. We've got quite an interesting show for us this week. We're going to do a few news stories and then we've got a main topic that we're going to go into as well. Kris is travelling, but you've dialed in for this. I really appreciate it.
Right. Yes. Calling in from another state, doing some summer travel with the fam.
What watch made the cut, or watches made the cut for the travel?
An easy pick, so it had to be the GMT. An easy pick
The Bell and Ross.
to keep track of where we are on the planet and when we are. And it's interesting. I was talking to the family earlier today, and we're just discussing how quickly just a simple time zone change kind of messes everybody up. It's pretty funny. It's like everybody's got their phone on silent before they go to bed because everybody in the East Coast is calling at 6:30 in the morning. So we're trying to mitigate that. So certainly good to know where you are when you are. How about you?
I'm wearing my Rolex date just 41. Excellent. But I have been wearing other watches this week as well. I wore that metal G-Shock yesterday, the last live stream that we did, because G-Shock's been so much in the news. I forgot that I hadn't worn it for a while, so I've been wearing that for a little bit, and we started going to the gym again. So I did take my Rolex to the gym. I got some footage on the treadmill that I'm going to splice into review. But this morning I wore my trusty Seiko Speed Timer, and I'm doing a review of my Seiko Speed Timer, an original Pogue version that Todd kindly sent me in, Todd from the live streams, and then also a new version that Dave at Detroit Mint has made, homage or a tribute, I would say, to those early speed timers. So I will be uploading that soon. That's what I've been wearing. Well, speaking of G-Shocks, I've mentioned this on the live stream, so we're not going to go into it too much, but just to close the story out, we briefly discussed the Bamford G-Shock on the live stream. But Kris, did you see the news today? It launched, I think it was yesterday.
Okay.
In one store, it was at Carnaby Street, I believe, and completely sold out. Not only did it completely sell out in the store, the police shut the store because there were similar Moonswatch type queues. And so much so that they were supposed to be launching it online on the 20th, which is today. And all that is on the site, and they emailed to say, we sold out of them all. There isn't any more. They've alluded that they might print some.
Yeah. It's I don't. Is that what brick and mortar stores are going to be about? Basically, just having the police come and shut them down. Is that the attention we need?
I hope it doesn't become a badge of honor. I hope it doesn't become like, oh my God, this watch was so popular, the police turned up, because it would be a pretty weird badge of honor. I'm sure G-Shock's above that. It was funny because immediately eBay's just flooded with all of these
lousy
G-Shocks.
with them. Yeah, for sure.
Even their original Bamford one is still going for $1,500, and because of this constrained supply of these limited editions, they're almost encouraging these flippers. And if you were buying this watch for, I think it was it was around $170. I think it was a very affordable one. $170 or £149. It's not available in the US yet. They apparently they are going to be selling it in August, so they must be making some more. But immediately on eBay, they're $800. In fact, there's a couple that are around the $400-500 mark. And if you were queuing and you queued for a couple of hours and you're gonna make $300 profit for doing it,
right.
One of the ones that I thought was interesting. They're not hitting this out of the park every time, these G-Shock limited editions, because that white John Mayer one, there's hundreds of, well, maybe not hundreds, there's tens of them on eBay, and they're not going, some are some people are just trying to get rid of them now. You can get
Yeah,
them
I'd
for
be curious if you click
250.
on the recent sales. I'm curious to see what they're actually going for. If you go down and you click sold for.
Well, here's one that's gone for
Yeah.
$185, which
So
is near and
and it looks
thereabouts
like
what it was.
they're accepting the accepting offers. Yeah, accepting offer, accepting lower offer. Some striked out prices there.
It did look crap though, this white one. I'm sorry, but I mean his first one where it was the blue one, which was very 80s, was good, but this white one, I suppose it shows that it's at least got to be a good looking watch as well as limited edition for it to do well on eBay.
Certainly doesn't hurt them to try as far as as far as that is concerned. I mean, it just come out with a special connection color and a bit fast fashion. So it makes me kind of feel bad, especially like we talk about the special edition stuff and these one-off watches. Well, if there's 10,000 special editions, then everybody gets their own special edition. I guess that's fine. But then when you get down to these like $100 watches, then it's like sorry Earth, no one wants to keep like we'll make a bunch of these and they'll sit on a shelf someplace.
It makes me feel uncomfortable. We had a bit of a rant about the Moon Swatch last week. It makes me feel uncomfortable that there's limited edition gets applied to watches that should be fairly affordable. But we won't go into that. We went into a bit of a rant on the Moon Swatch, and I could rant for in the entire hour about limited editions.
Oh, jeez, yes, yeah, for sure.
Another interesting story, which you spotted, Chris, wasn't it? That people are talking about the market going up and down, and that currently the market is, well, depending on who you watch online, some people will say, well, no, the market's correcting and it's leveling out now.
Right.
And other people say, well, there is a crash on certain models, but there seems to be a Watch Pro article that you spotted that might actually allude to there being proper dip in the market.
Yeah, no, I was when we're figuring out the news. Chronext has laid off 1/3 of its workforce. And this article was in Watch Pro. As they say, the secondary watch market flips. They have some for our, we're audio here, so for some of these graphs are pretty dramatic. It shows just an absolute 45-degree angle going up and then a 45-degree angle going down on some of these models.
And you're right, it's showing the models that were the hyped ones at the time. In particular, which is eye-opening, was the Tiffany blue Rolex, the 41mm. Its market price, it said before Watches and Wonders, was €32,500. And did you know that the euro flipped? The dollar is now worth the same as the euro, which is amazing. I've
been watching on that. Yeah,
incredible. Now's the right time to go on holiday to Europe, isn't it, with your US dollars? And then it was saying the market price after Watches and Wonders, and if anyone doesn't remember, that model was discontinued at Watches and Wonders. They're saying that it went up to €48,000 for that Oyster Perpetual. That surprised me because I knew it was going for a premium, but I didn't know it was going for that much.
Right.
And now it's saying the market price today is €36,000, so it's gone down. I bought an Oyster Perpetual. Granted, it wasn't the Tiffany blue one, but this is a $5,700 watch plus the tax. So for it to go to 48,000, it was crazy.
Yeah, I right. There was that one. What was that? There was that one auction where it was like it was a charity auction or something where someone bought one for maybe I'm thinking of the AP.
The Nautilus, yeah.
There was one that was just like it was just this crazy number that it went for, and I think and I think also this is published prices. Federico had a pretty good commentary on the fact that he was saying a lot of the auction houses will list its price as the gavel dropped, but no one's ever actually paid for that watch. No one's picked that up. And we were talking about this on the last podcast about a lot of other of these auction sites, whether it's cars or watches, or this one car, this one watch supposedly sells for this crazy amount of money, drives the market up, and gives you this amazing graph. But at the same time, yeah, was it ever really worth that? Probably not.
Sure, they've got these stats vetted, but that Tiffany blue obviously was an eye-opener. And they also have the Air King, which they say at one time before Watches and Wonders was €15,800, and then after that it went up to 16,500. That seems very high for an Air King. It's not one that I monitor. Now they're saying it's 12,500. But I guess one of the interesting things Chronext apparently did grow their sales 47% from 2018 to 2020. I think Agent Bark and Jack has them as a sponsor as well. Okay. So maybe they've preemptively laid off staff because they're seeing more of a more rocky ahead.
Yeah, kind of gives you a clue into the watch market when you have actualized changes, right? When you have you can get in front of CNN and MSNBC and the business markets, and you can say like, oh, we're seeing a little downturn, and the market's leveling off, and we're not really concerned because they don't want people to be concerned. They want people to continue buying luxury watches, for off the used market. They absolutely, and they don't want to send. And I think a lot of their market is folks that are seeing it as an investment, seeing it as putting money in the bank kind of thing, and they don't want to upset that apple cart. So if they were, if I was the president of this company, I would go on TV and be like, yeah, so we're just seeing stuff level off. But the truth here is that you laid off a third of your workforce, so that's real.
I was chatting to Ricky at Scottish Watches on the last live stream. He kindly joined us on the Sunday Social, if anybody wants to check it out on YouTube. And he, obviously, I was on a list. I would never buy. Well, it's hard to say never, but I wouldn't actively go and buy a Rolex on the used market. I would go if I wanted one. And the last two times I did want one, I went onto a list and I waited about 4 months. Yeah. Ricky at Scottish Watches managed to get a white gold Daytona, and he'd been on a list for a while. But he's hearing from other people in his audience that they're also getting the call from the Rolex dealer. In fact, Chris, who runs the channel Clicky Bezel, who used to work at Bob's Watches, knew him quite well. The Clicky Bezel channel is absolutely incredible because he was a photographer at Bob's Watches, and his filming is stunning. It's a new channel. Definitely go and check it out, anyone, if you're searching for some decent YouTube videos. And we're actually going to talk about YouTube videos, the YouTube channels later on. But he got a call about a Pepsi. He went in, spoke to them. He'd had no purchase history before, but they could tell that he really loved watches. Like, I could tell when I went in, and he got a call a couple of weeks later and got a Pepsi. So I think perhaps the supply chain is freeing up a little bit more, or maybe it's just coincidence. But I would encourage anyone to.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, if you're not going to make payroll, then that means that you got to make some serious changes to your organization in order to stay afloat. And that's a lot more dramatic than and a lot more dramatic of an indication than we're seeing. So,
and Chronext was a big, and we're just speculating here. We're not saying that they didn't that didn't make the payroll or anything, but Chronext is a big reseller, pre-owned watch reseller. Right. They're not a small. Right. It's not somebody that came around in COVID and spun up a business and started selling Rolexes because it was like printing money. They've been going for quite a while, and they had 150 employees. So 40 of them going is as you said, is a significant slice of the market, and obviously feel very bad for those people that obviously are watch lovers and have been working at Chronext, probably following their passion for watches, and unfortunately have had to be laid off. On the flip side, which is interesting, is there was another article in Watch Pro, wasn't there, Chris, as well, offering the alternative opinion about Richemont.
That it looks like they've increased sales to 1 billion in the latest quarter.
And they do own Watch Finder, don't they? But I think this article is is alluding to the retail watches rather than pre-owned.
It also kind of speaks to some of the stuff that we had pontificated about in what was going on in the watch market in the super hot year ago days, where, oh, we can't get any of these and they're just there's nothing here to sell, this kind of thing. And the result is basically, well, we're gonna make what we're gonna make. We're gonna produce what we're gonna produce. And we're not, we're trying to plan and produce more for the future, but we're not gonna get ourselves into financial trouble by increasing production and, going overboard on stuff. And this kind of shows that, so they're making what they're making, and they're either freeing up, more people are buying new, and they're doing very well. So it's another interesting indication. So I think what this, for me, what this kind of says is the used market, that hot, you can just buy something and flip it and make $20,000, that is going away. And now we're going to get back to whether you bought it and flipped it to make money doesn't change Richemont, right? Doesn't change their profit and loss. Will definitely affect used market sellers, Chronext, Bob's Watches, Chrono 24, etc. Pretty interesting.
If the market does flip again, where it becomes a buyer's market again, do you think that some of these brands that have slowly filtered, I'm causing, this is cause for speculation, but do you think some of the brands that you used to see on Joma Shop that have got very high on their own supply and decided that they weren't going to filter off to grey market, like Breitling and etc.?
Oh yeah.
Do you think that we'll start seeing them come back on the grey market if there is a little bit of a downturn in the economy?
Yeah, I think so. I think if they do a year, if they have successive years of not being able to move new models, then they kind of have no choice. And it's almost not their choice. It's their retailers saying, listen, we want to bring the newest Breitling in. We want to bring the newest Bell and Ross in. We want to bring the newest, Tudor in. We want to bring, but the stuff that we have in the store is just not selling.
It was funny because the Super Ocean, the Breitling Super Ocean that I gave some stick to on the live stream, because I don't like the direction that they went in, the minute hand with the ginormous square on it. Looks like a s'mores on a stick. It's funny because I've been reading a lot about it and a lot of opinions and other people's comments on other people's videos, and there's a lot. It's definitely a Marmite one where some people love it and some people don't like it. I've seen it in person, and if it wasn't for that minute hand, I think it would be quite a good looking watch. But it's funny how many people who like it also commented that they almost pulled the trigger on it.
Right.
They like it, but not enough to buy it. So I think it's a funny watch in that respect. And when I made that video on that Seiko watch where I said it was overpriced, a lot of the comments are people quite upset with the comments that I made about it being overpriced. But every single person who's commented on it, who bought it at a discount. So I said, well, that's kind of proved my point that the market decided what it was. There's not a single person that's commented on that video that bought that watch at its full retail price, which was actually my argument for the video. They got it.
Yeah, the Breitling, the previous 2 generations before, so the previous Super Ocean 2, right? Those with the super busy dial, the Arabic numerals, and it came in a couple different colors, and like the one before they sort of went with a cleaner design, right? We're talking 3-4 years ago, one pandemic ago. Those were like, I want to say $2,800 on Joma and other places, and to the point where I went and looked at one. We have a combination. It was Breitling and I'm trying to think of the other jeweler. that's in the mall here. But they had a basically a Breitling boutique, and I was considering, I checked one out, and I was considering sort of negotiating the price using the gray market pricing.
Is it Tourneau that's in this
Yeah,
shop?
yeah, I think it was Tourneau that built that had sort of a Breitling wing
Yeah, and they
in the
offered me a
mall.
discount on a Breitling in there. But you're right, the previous Super Ocean, when we used to talk about it and we quoted its price, we would always quote the grey market price, wouldn't we?
Right,
And you were right, it was an absolute steal on the grey
right.
market. I'm
Yeah.
almost ashamed that I didn't pick one up at the time. But we thought they would always be available on the
Right,
grey
right, yeah,
market.
exactly. Yeah, like it wouldn't change. And then, I mean, and I think from a business standpoint, I think Breitling was sort of right to do this, was sort of right to kind of, because it does sort of tarnish your reputation, and it makes it makes an uncomfortable conversation for the salespeople, where you're like, well, I can get this on this website for X, what sort of discount? But yeah, it's a good lesson, that when times are down, that stuff is going to go to the gray market, and prices are going to be negotiable. And then look at where we are today, where Breitling, you can't find Breitling, you know, in secondary markets. They're focused on just having their stuff in their stores. And they kind of completely revamped their design. It's over the last 5 years, it's definitely been a tale.
I'm going to call it now. I think that Super Ocean is going to see itself onto the grey market, that new Super Ocean.
Hmm.
So we'll revisit this, and
All right.
I'll be called
How dare
pessimistic.
you?
Yeah,
How
exactly.
dare you? How dare you want a watch to sort of not sell as hot as some of the others, but it happens.
Absolutely. Well, we thought for a main topic would be quite interesting, and I don't think in all of the shows that we've done, which is well over 100 now, I don't think we've ever talked about what watch media we consume. That we're very grateful for everyone that listens to this podcast. Thank you so much, and thank you for everyone that joined the Facebook group and has commented that they enjoy the podcast as well. And obviously, if you've got any suggestions for topics or things you'd like us to cover, let us know over on the Facebook. And thank you to
Yeah,
everyone that
yeah.
listens to this. But yeah, we thought might be a fun topic. What watch media do we
Right?
consume? I've
Yeah.
got 6. I think it's channels that I watch on a regular basis. I watch things ad hoc, but I've got
Yeah.
6 channels that I watch on a regular basis. But
I've got a handful. I'm gonna just pull them out of thin air, is what I'm gonna do. I know
yeah,
that I
yeah.
didn't make a list, but I kind of know. We had a little chat about this, and I think there's some hidden gems that
Would you wish we
maybe.
take it in turns then? Do
Yeah,
you want to
sure.
kick this off with one of yours?
So I'm proud that I was an early adopter of a man of style, a young man that had a style channel on YouTube that occasionally discussed watches, and that was Teddy Baldassar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, I've seen that his channel grow. I think he's a great source of information. He kind of tackles, and he'll continue to kind of go back and tackle some of the early, like, watch collecting mistakes, and what does a chronograph do, and sort of the basic intro videos. His videography and his style, his production has gone through the moon in the last couple
Yeah.
years. I mean, he started a watch strap selling company that turned into a watch sale company. Now he's basically a retailer that's got tons of brands. He's made a super successful e-commerce business selling watches. And I think that he's got the info and the style to back it up. It's fun. I enjoy what he does.
I agree with you. I don't watch him often, but I always think that he definitely followed the playbook of TGV in terms of presenting as a more sort of higher class, more sophisticated watch collector. But with Teddy, it's effortless for him. You can tell that it's not a TGV. You can sometimes tell that it's a character that he's playing, but you're right. It seems effortless, and I think if there's one criticism, I like it when he used to show more of his personality, because he's got quite a cheeky personality. I think sometimes some of his videos are perhaps too polished.
Okay.
I like when he's tried to do a few comedy things in the past, the one where he did that movement interview, and I thought that played really well. But you're right.
Yeah, that's a good one. Go look that up if you guys haven't seen that, for sure.
Yeah, you're right. He's definitely effortless class, high production value. His watch photography is nauseating to me because I'm so jealous of it. Yeah, you're right. That's a great one. Well, I'll go next. For me, I think that filming wise, presentation style, and a few recently videos that he did, especially the ones he did this incredible run on the Rolex Explorer 2, and that is Adrian at Bark and Jack. I think he's forcing all watch reviewers to be better, but it seems almost effortless for him when you watch it. But I know I tried to replicate one of his shots the other day just to see how hard it would be, just a photography shot.
Right.
It's incredibly difficult to make it look as effortless as he does. And I think he's just similar to Teddy. I think he's really raised the game on that one.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. You mentioned TGV. It is almost the king there, I'd have to say.
Again, his production value is very high, isn't it? But yeah, definitely the OG.
My analogy would be everybody needs to try on a Seiko SKX with a jangly bracelet and wear it around and see if that's for them. And in your watch collecting journey, trying a Seiko diver it should be on your list. And he's kind of he's your first Seiko diver.
Yeah, and his passion is definitely genuine, isn't it? I mean, he talks about that Seiko Flightmaster as if it's haute horology, as if it's
I know, right?
And Audemars Piguet tourbillon sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree with you.
That's good. But I think my actual pick, mention them all the time, for our sort of an inside watch view, for industry and telling it like it is. And that's going to be Federico. Federico Talks Watches.
On my list as well. Yeah.
I watched an early, I think it's one of the reasons why I got a Khaki King. Yeah. He did a review of the Khaki King early, and I just happened to check it out, and then it was super fascinating because here's a guy who was selling high-end luxury watches, knows a ton about the details, the sales, the insides, the movements, etc. And he was passionate about this, $650, $700 Hamilton field watch.
And the other thing as well with Federico is, again, he's an absolute class act, and his audience, his loyal audience, are also, you can tell they're passionate watch collectors. I won't name names here, but there's certainly some other channels where their audiences can be quite toxic at times. Mm-hmm. And you get the impression by the questions that he gets in and the comments that he gets on his channel. Same with our podcast and my YouTube channel. Fantastic audience that is always, if they do have feedback, it's always presented in a nice way. And they're obviously passionate watch collectors, but his audience, you get the chance that you get the impression that they are real big supporters of him, and that they learn a lot, and I learn a lot from his channel as well. He's fantastic. Well, next for me is, I'm going to do two guilty-ish pleasures, and one is, although I've got some criticisms as well about this, I used to watch the Timepiece Gentleman channel, and I did go off it. To be honest, after all of the ridiculousness they had with that social media blackout and all of this, I went off it a little bit, and it did get too over the top with all of the luxury watches and the fantasy kind of lifestyle. But the channels have split now, and Marco and Anthony actually business split. So they split the business, and Marco's running a channel called Grand Caliber. It's still finding its footing a little bit, but I still like the fly on the wall documentary and their style, and they're taking a lot of feedback. They've got new offices. It's a new style, and they do go into a lot of vintage Rolex pieces, and I like where it's going. But I also do watch Anthony's, I think it might be called South Hill now, but his Timepiece Gentleman, he's spun it back up again. But it's a little bit all over the place. They started off going big. They rented this huge penthouse in LA, which looked incredible. And for people that aren't familiar with LA, you would think, oh my God, this is incredible. But anybody who's been to LA or knows LA knows that people who have money don't live in the center of LA.
Right.
So he was obviously for show, this whole thing, and he apparently blasted through like $1 million on renting this place, and he was actually gonna build a retail location in there, and then it kind of filtered out. Now they're gonna do something on Beverly Hills, but I think they're still finding the way. Obviously, the camera work his videographer is incredible, but because they haven't got the whole Timepiece Gentleman machine behind them, it's funny how they still try and do like dramatic content, but they haven't really got a lot of drama there, and a lot of their clients don't want to be on camera, and I think it filters back from that, so you're not seeing the deals. But it was funny, a couple of weeks ago, they did like a dramatic cut where it was like they were teasing something, and it ended up being that he'd bought a Breitling watch that he thought was in like new condition, but it had a dent on the bezel, and they made a whole song, a dent on the bracelet, and he was on the phone with the guy. You said this was mint, and they tried to build this up. It was a bit comical actually, but I still, it's like a guilty pleasure for me, that one.
Yeah. The daily TV drama.
Yeah. What was next on? What was next on your list?
So I just wanted to give a shout out. We're talking about Teddy and his sort of his style channel. This is watch adjacent, but there is a gentleman who does a YouTube channel called He Spoke Style.
Right, not familiar.
And yeah, and it's probably 80% how to dress like an adult. And there's sort of as you get a little older, you'll go out and you wanna age gracefully, and if you're still wearing the jean jacket and with the patches and the shorts and the ripped t-shirt, this kind of thing, maybe you wanna in your 50s and 60s, that may not be your best style. But this is sort of my guilty pleasure show as a, like, I'm not a I don't like personal grooming. Like, I'm not spending hours in the bathroom and getting ready for stuff, and I very rarely wear a suit. But there are certain topics that you like, how to find a suit that'll fit you, and what you should be wearing when you're 50. And not that I'm there yet, but and like to look your age, really, these sorts of style tips. He has a fantastic watch collection that he will pair with all of his outfits. And he's got some heavy hitter stuff, and he's got some affordable stuff, and it's interesting when he'll talk about, get the white shoes. You can wear the white shoes with the dark jeans and a nice shirt, but you're going to the beach, so maybe leave the JLC at home and take the Seiko. And he's got some great stuff. So watch guy, but also personal style guy. So very, very fun to watch.
Yeah, no, that's a new one on me. I've noticed some of the financial YouTubers, especially Graham Stefan and I think Andrew Jenk. They have incredible watch collections, but they don't often talk about them. But I mean, actually, Federico did a collab with Graham Stefan about his. Well, my next one is, well, first of all, I'll give a little shout out to the guys, the Tea and Tickers live stream that I do. I like what they're doing at live on the live streams, so check that out. But I really like what Roman Scharf is doing with his Grey Market channel. I think where Timepiece Gentleman was trying to go for that, obviously a Netflix deal, a fly-on-the-wall Netflix deal, I think that Roman not only has the watch knowledge, the breadth of watch knowledge, but the different watches that actually come through the luxury bazaar. And he also has like the sales team, and there's a more of a interesting dynamic there that I think would make an actual real Netflix fly on the wall show. And I've had the pleasure of being on live streams with him, and he's a real genuine nice guy as well. So I quite like what the Grey Market's doing, and also they feed in other stuff, jewelry and things like that. So my wife will watch it with me as well, because it's shot like a TV show. It's not shot like a watch channel. So I quite like that one.
I'll have to check that out. I think so. Here's one that I think I mentioned to you, but I don't know if you caught. But super fun. Right, like the perfect amount of humor and incredible photography, and it's You're Terrific.
Oh, I've not seen that one.
Oh, it's so good. I'm trying to think. I think it's Evan, I think is his name.
And is it watches as well, or is it general?
It's just watches, and it's over on and it's on YouTube. You're Terrific. And he does fun, bright colors. That's kind of his take with it, where instead of this, he described it once where instead of this mahogany table with the cigar, the knife, the flashlight, and the accessories with the watch, that
You're
kind of
giving these secrets away. Don't give the secrets away.
Yeah, I know, right? Instead of this dark, smoky, instead of these dark, smoky pictures, he goes for like fun, bright colors, and really tries to showcase the watch. I think he's got a great sense. We should try to have him on the show. That's what I'm saying. He's got a great sense of like the craziness that is telling someone you are going to buy a $5,000 watch when they think that an expensive watch is $200, that kind of thing. And so he's completely has that, and his humor is delightful, and really great pick. Check out You're Terrific.
No, that's a great one. And you reminded me, if my grandfather was still alive, trying to explain to him that I bought a Rolex would be quite the task. I'm gonna do a little shout out as well for Ben at Ben's Watch Club. I think that he's a newer channel. He's been going a couple of years. He had a men's fashion channel, but I think that he best captures the affordable watch segment. So he'll typically his whole channel is about what is value in value watches. So he does a lot of Casio. He doesn't tend to lean too much on Seiko, which I quite like as well. He does a breadth of brands, and also he does these incredible documentary style ones, where he did ones on watch YouTubers that take money for doing reviews. He did another one on a few of these Instagram brands that are just all ridiculous overblown marketing things, but they're all made in Alibaba. He calls out Movement. He's called out Daniel Wellington.
I've always felt Ben is sort of your gut check on if you're interested in a watch brand or a particular brand or style, something like that. He's a great early in your watch collecting, definitely a good gut check to be like, wait, what is this company selling?
Exactly. And he's a great example of, if you are really passionate about watch collecting but you have other money priorities that mean that you can't invest a lot, he always has a great selection of affordable watches, and he'll go into quite a lot of detail around what is value, and he's not just buying homage watches or anything.
Right.
These are accessible watches that are well made. But that was a little special shout out. But honestly, the channel that I would say I watch the most and I enjoy the most, again, I had the pleasure of being on multiple live streams with him. He's come on my live stream. I've managed to meet him in person when I was in the UK, and that is Paul Thorpe. I just really like. I like what he's doing. I like that he has a different take. He does a lot of news stories. He's passionate about the combating watch theft. He himself has been a victim of quite a brutal watch theft where he got really badly injured, and he ran a jewelry store that got robbed in a really awful way. So he keeps a lot of companies in check in terms of big advocate for who wants Rolex's lost and found register. He talks a lot about the latest watch scams, but also his knowledge on the luxury end of the market,
right.
His perspective on it. His perspective is very much around, which is a perspective that I also think about, is what is the value of this watch? Is it something that will appreciate in value? Do you buy it with your heart? Do you buy it with his head? He's very pragmatic about watch value. He comes from that expert. He's not an expert in the mechanics or the movements of watches or like vintage or anything like that. He understands from a dealer's perspective.
I think the dealer's perspective. Yeah, exactly. I would say before my last one, I want to shout out to Pete from Not So Obvious Watches, who has joined us many times here on the channel and is over in our Discord, and has a really interesting perspective. I commented last week that he's got almost a introspective view, a inner view, and it's always interesting, fascinating how he'll approach certain things that maybe we'll casually say. We'll say, oh, these luxury watches, and terms that we use in the hobby that I think it's good to point out that we don't want to be snobs, and we don't want to alienate people, and so it's good to point out that maybe some of these terms, some of the ways you say things, some of the ways you think about things need to be kind of thought out and brought to the forefront and discussed. And Pete does a great job of that.
Yeah, and I always like Pete because he normally doesn't agree with my opinion. In fact, we've been having quite the gentleman's disagreement about the moon swatch on our Discord group, which, again, a big plug for our Discord group.
Yeah.
A lot of YouTubers on there as well that you'll enjoy. Not So Obvious Watches, and
sure.
Patrick from Pocket Watch Time. There's a few others on there as well. But yeah, you're right. He always offers an interesting perspective, Pete, even if I don't personally agree with it all the time.
Yeah, it's certainly there. But my last pick is ID Guy, so Industrial Design Guy. He kind of came on in the last, I'd say pandemic pickup, and is finally now doing. He used to just do voiceovers and sort of do a slideshow, and now he's comfortable on camera, and he's kind of discussing his Photoshop stuff as an industrial designer is interesting, and I love his perspective on stuff where he'll be able to point out something super simple that, I mean, a perfect example is the Air King with the balanced dial. So originally up in the top left, it said 55 for 55 minutes. On the top right, it just said 5. And he photoshopped up one that said 05 to balance out the dial. And something that I never would have, even considered. And it was a fascinating sort of experiment. This is probably like 3 years ago. And turns out that's exactly what Rolex ended up doing to change that dial. So he got lucky with his pick, but his take is more of a sort of an engineer designer, and that really resonates with me. I'm less beauty and style, and more functionality, but simplicity and beauty through something that's functional and useful.
The ones that I've caught, I definitely very much enjoyed them. Let us know in the over on the Facebook group if there's any channels that you enjoy that we perhaps didn't mention. I know this is a topic that I'm going to be kicking myself later that I forgot to mention certain other channels. But those were the ones that, there's many that I enjoy, but the ones that I mentioned are the ones that I watch on a regular basis. As always, we really appreciate you listening, and we'll see you next time on Casual Watch Talk. Thanks, everyone. Bye.